Good evening, viewers, and welcome to another session of Mazungumzo. This is your host, Dr. Gilbert Gisharu Githere, coming to your home with Mazungumzo. And in the past, I've been covering the internet, and especially as it pertains to digital objects and their being, you know. And I have connected the subject, and this is part 3 of the program. And we are trying to analyze the internet and how it relates with the indigenous people and their languages. Now, in the Wide Web, OWL, as this as formed by Barbara Lee, discussed by Gilbert Simondon, and Stegler, and people like Hui Yuk, who has written a beautiful book about digital objects and how they will relate to the internet and the people in the future. Now, this topic is really hot right now because just the other day, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter were off the grid for 5 hours. And there was a panic internationally. And I find myself to be so much in time, in sync with what is happening. Because just a few weeks ago, if you go to my YouTube recordings, you'll find I was discussing digital objects, indigenous languages, and the World Wide Web, OWL, And I had even used how you formulate, how you prepare a web page, the language, like the one you're seeing in front of me. And this one, I sourced it from Hui Yuk, or Yuk Hui, who has written this beautiful book in 2016. He wrote this beautiful book about digital objects and their being. And you can see right now that the algorithms used by the people like tech support in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they actually prepare it knowing who will be the target. They know the language they put in the preparation of the web page that is going to be a link is very, very well targeted. And they are, when they use the if formulas that are going to bring people to their web pages and be involved, both good people and controversial people, and some people who people say are bad people, that will create misinformation. They are all targeted in the metaphase of the preparation of the web page. Because in the meta narrative and the meta links, this is actually what calls people by their name to the web page. So they are actually engraved, or they are part and parcel of the way the web page is prepared. Because the more people you meta tag, and they are actually called by name into the web page, the system, because this is a technical system. They are the ones who they will hear their names being called. Let's say you search Mombasa, for example, and there is a web in a Google or in the system of the preparation of the web pages. There will be a meta tag. The main words you want to be searched in the web page for Mombasa. Everyone who has interest in Mombasa, let's say Port Authority, the tourist industry, the fishing industry, the wildlife industry, the aviation. When they prepare their web pages, they will have meta tags which target Mombasa. They will say Mombasa, then they will say Fort Jesus, then they will say Old Town, then they will say Portrees, then they will say Savo Park. Now, any word that you search, if for example you search Savo, now you're just searching Savo, or you're searching Lamu, is a tourist destination. If the meta tags of Kenya Airways, for example, forgive me, I'm not promoting them, I'm not doing advertising for them. It's not a commercial, this is an intellectual page or academics. Let's say Kenya Airways. The person who has prepared their webpage will have those words all put in the meta tag when they have their meta tag developed. Keywords that will make them marketable, or whoever is searching the World Wide Web, if he enters any word relating to important things in Mombasa, the meta tag of fishing companies, transport companies, port authorities, tourism, they will all include these meta tags. Now, Facebook is no different. Those are the things they do put in their meta tag. Now they have an international following. Now, they cannot ignore those people who have connections with them and they peddle misinformation. They can't, because this is a world, it's a world web. It includes everybody. When they use meta tags, they will say people looking for misinformation. They will put a tag like misinformation within their net of fishing for followers. So we must be very clear here that when you're talking about making of web pages, like the one you see in front of us, let's say, for example, you are looking for a friend of a friend, FOAF. You can see FOA, friend of a friend. And then colon, a person. Then they will say, they are looking at, and then they will close that information. Then they will open friend of a friend. Then they will say they want the name. They say they're looking for Martin Heidegger. Just for example, they say Martin Heidegger. That's the name they have put in their webpage. That's the person most of the people will be looking for if they're looking for philosophy. And you know, Martin Heidegger is a famous philosopher. So people are looking for their work. Somebody preparing a webpage must tag it like that. Then close it after you have finished. That's the person we want. Nobody else. You might find somebody else with Martin Heidegger's name, but they're looking for that person. Those people will also be called. So if there is somebody called Martin Heidegger, he will come in. But the thing is, there are no books attached to him. For Martin Heidegger, who is proper name, they will find being and time. That's a big writing from Martin Heidegger. So when you close his name with just and a backslash, friend of a friend, colon, name, and then close the search. Now, the people who are looking for Martin Heidegger, because he's a key name in philosophy, anybody preparing a web page now related to philosophy, in the meta tag, the things somebody will be searching, when they form their web pages, in their meta tag narrative, they will have to include Martin, Heidegger, philosopher, time, being, Germany, Frankfurt, and all other terms that are connected with Martin Heidegger. So you can see there is no excuse for somebody saying, like Facebook, oh, people are spreading rumors in connection with the vaccine, and we are not to blame. Funny enough, they are completely, I don't say they are to blame, but in the formation of their algorithms, which one of them is the meta tags, the search words they are using when they are forming their Facebook web pages or links. They all have these misinformation groups included in the meta tag, because the people who use misinformation, the meta tags they use for their names so that they can get to the people, they use language. And language is something you cannot restrict to good people and bad people, because the misinformation group might just use green. When you search for the word green, they know green environmentalists. It's a big word. You might just say grass is green, but green in the World Wide Web, it means people who love climate, people who hate pollution. They associate themselves with green because green is the chlorophyll color. It filters carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So it's a very big meta tag. So the people who misinform about vaccine might call themselves the green group. So in the World Wide Web, when you say you're going to restrict who is to be searched, it's a big web. It's a needle in the haystack. To be able to actually eliminate disinformation, you could as well say you're going to kill Facebook, you're going to kill Instagram, and you're going to kill Twitter. Because actually language is a free spirit. Language is a free spirit. And once people have language, whether they are spreading misinformation, it becomes a very, very difficult endeavor to try and disassociate some words from being used by people who use language. It is an endeavor which people are taking onto themselves, which I think in the end, they're going to find it difficult. Because you see, in a normal world of, let's say, journalism, in the print media, analog, there was an editor. That's why editors were there in every paper. You could not go to a paper like the New York Times, forgive me, and you find they did not have an editor. Because in the analog world and in the modern world, not postmodern of the World Wide Web and digital objects, the human being could go and read the article you have sent and he would eliminate all what he thinks is misinformation. But in the digital world, you can see the problem you face. First of all, in the real digital world, in the technological philosophy, the technological philosophy world, time is of no essence. Now, when I say that, somebody might say, oh, no, it can't be. Now, look at this. Originally, when people were editing a program using analog, and they were going to search for a piece in a tape, they had to rewind the tape minute by minute looking for that piece. But listen now when it comes to digital equipment. You're looking for something in a digital recording, let's say a CD. And even a CD is more crude. You go, you get it, you can rewind a program, you can fast forward a program, you can go to the point you want to enter and start watching it from there. Nobody can tell you no. So time is of no essence in the digital world. Some knowledge remains that it has got to be, you got to search for knowledge. You got to educate yourself. But when that thing goes and it becomes the material in the internet and it is digitized, now that's where the beauty of it starts. You cannot call it a problem. Because those people who edit programs, they remember the day they had to forward a tape minute by minute. Now the glory came, the spirit of digit, is that you can pinpoint a thing. Actually, you don't waste any time. You go to the point, entry point that you want instantly, and you get it. Now, that is a problem also. If you think about it, it is very, very hard how you handle people who peddle misinformation, because you're dealing with real time. I will stop there. The thing I put behind me is for you to see how a web page is prepared. And we said you are searching a resource definition framework in a huge marginal markup language namespace. If you go to the previous program, I explained to this how they go about preparing a web page, and you can look at it. It's just words and also symbols and formulas. They become so important when you get to the world of the digital world. That's why Gottlieb Frege, Ludwig Wittgenstein, and Rudolf Carnap, those are the Vienna philosophers who emphasized that we must move from, to expand knowledge, we have got to go further and start using formulas. That's why you see, when you want to be really a good researcher, you have to use statistics, data. It's a language of simple and science, and it shortens it helps you to say things in precise, you eliminate mistakes, and you are so to the point. I'm not going to say truth. You are to the point as per digital object and digital language. So you can see Gottlieb Frege, he is the one who started saying, you got to be simple, you got to be very exact on the formulas you use if you are going to get positive, better, efficient results. Because language is a game. It uses rules. That is Wittgenstein. They were also helping in perfecting what becomes of the digital world. It cannot only use words. It has to use sign and symbols, and then to perfect it, use formulas, predicate calculus. So actually human beings right now at this particular point, 2021, in the postmodern era, we are actually in a quagmire, in a catch-22. We are realizing how evasive a digital object is. And funny enough, if you cannot digitize your information or your product, you're going nowhere. So it's a catch-22. It's something you cannot ignore. If you want to get 1 million people instantly because they love a viral video you have put on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, you have to live in the digital world in the midst of the storm. And there is no shortcut. So actually we are dealing with a monster. We are actually just scratching the surface. The problem is underneath. It's just like saying you're seeing the tip of the iceberg. Now, this is a true, that becomes true in the digital world in 2021 because we are just touching the surface. When we start to go into the phenomenology and the hermeneutics, the tacit elements, and the being of digital objects, the norm, the morals, the spirituality, the religion, and the utility and conscience of digital language, my friend, you will realize we're just touching the surface. And it's going to be a rough world because there are people who they relish misinformation. That's what makes them money. So until we meet again, and these are discussions which are going to continue infinite. This is your host and friend, Dr. Gilbert Gisharu Githere. Say ciao ciao for now.